We update all the time with CIS news that's coming up, and then internships. There was an internship just posted Monday, or take it back, Tuesday. It was a local school needing an internship for 15 hours a week, paid internship, and there's always, in fact, I'm meeting with a person tomorrow. There's going to be another internship posted for a network intern, just to install printers, things of that nature. So avail yourself to bookmark that website, myrbc.org. From that, what you want to do is when you go to the website, there's a Facebook and a Twitter page as well for the division. When new jobs are posted, I always post it on Facebook, which also posts it on Twitter automatically. And if you like our Facebook page, it'll alert you through the phone that something's been posted to where you can grab onto it. These internships generally go pretty quick when they come in, but I try to tell all my classes about how to get. So if you know somebody needs a job, you yourself are okay, maybe let some other people know about the website. Myself and a number of students keep it up, so we also put on there news that students, if they get a job or something, we'll put it up there, and feedback from employers. So definitely avail yourself to that. This week, up on the overhead, I've got the updated dates. The About Me is due Sunday. Most of you already finished that. Review questions and week 1, chapter 1 quiz. I bumped that up to August 31st due date. And so questions on what's due coming up. All right. So we're going to go right into the first introduction of network security. And this basically goes over some of the challenges with network security, some of the definitions that we'll go over this semester, and then some of the types of attackers that can attack a network today. We'll also go over some of the basic steps of an attack, 5 steps in a defense, explain the different types of information security careers, specifically, and I'll mention more in the weeks to come, Security Plus certification. Basically is a middle-of-the-road certification. It's not a Microsoft per se certification. It's kind of like a middle range certification that's used a lot in to train people what network security is all about. And so you can have this certification. It costs about $125. Generally, you get waived as a student. And so if you're interested, I'll be mentioning more in the weeks to come on study guides for you and CDs to give you and online tools. So if you're interested, you might as well take it, or at least be studying for it, and then you can take it, and it doesn't cost you as a student anything. I think you've got to sign up for like it's a grant. You have to sign up for a grant, the grant officiant to follow you for like 5 years in your career, to get it free, basically. And so that's it. So that's all you got to agree to. Now, I did have you guys go to the m.socrative.com. This is just a real quick, painless, hopefully, survey that I do. The first session we're actually together once we get through doing the here. There we go. And this is being recorded, so as we go through the discussion, I'll be asking you questions maybe, and just feel free to open up and to talk here. So what's some challenges of information security? One is the information itself, how to secure it, how to keep it secure. That could be social security numbers, student data, addresses, phone numbers, whatever the data is, keeping it secure. If you're an engineering firm, it might be AutoCAD drawings of your product that you sell every day. How do you keep that information secure? There's no simple solution. There is a lot of canned products you can buy off the shelf to secure information, but 9 times out of 10 you're going to have to do some tweaking of that. You're going to have to do some manual process to get things more secure. So there's no simple solution.
So What are you talking about with canned? What kind of?
Like an example would be McAfee. Let's just talk about antivirus for a second. McAfee's a great product. They have enterprise level solutions that will meet most everybody's need as far as enterprises go, but they might miss some things possibly that you need in your organization. Like, say, for instance, you might have a certain device that it doesn't have software for it. Whether it be an old device hanging around or a certain type of tablet or whatever that it just doesn't have a client for, that might be on a road or something. And so you have to come up with solutions on top of the enterprise solution that'll fit that need. And so that's what I mean by there's no simple, just say, okay, this one solution, McAfee, is going to solve everybody's problem as it pertains to getting viruses and stopping you from getting viruses. Now, it can be seen, though, through different types of attacks that users face today, everybody, as well as difficulties in defending them. And so, everything as simple as somebody clicking on an attachment on an email and infecting their computer and their network with malware, to somebody going on file sharing site that they shouldn't be going to anyway, but at your workplace, going to a file sharing site and downloading an MP3 that's infected with a virus, and now it's in everybody's computer on the network, or in their little area that they're in. And so, it's not just here's what you do for network security. This is what you need to know. Go and conquer. It's a constant, ever-changing field. Now, here's some typical warnings of attacks. Malicious program was introduced at some point in the manufacturing process of a popular brand of digital photo frames. The Nigerian email scams, you've heard of those and probably got some of those yourself. Booby-trapped web pages growing at an increasing rate. And by the way, most of these web pages that have booby traps in them that are kind of infected with malware and pop-ups are generally gaming type of web pages that folks go to download free games or to install a free program or whatever the case may be. A new worm disables Microsoft Windows automatic update and the task manager to where you can't kill that application that's running. Number of those out there. I'm trying to think the most popular that I've come against and seen, you've probably seen it, is the antivirus, the online antivirus. Like, they had one version for 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and it would tell you, oh, your computer would pop a little pop-up and say your computer could be infected. Click here to scan. They click there to scan, and it installs a little software which disables the task manager. Then it begins to take over the entire computer. Okay, that's real popular. Apple also, even though Apple doesn't get hit as many viruses as Microsoft, Apple has gotten addressed a lot of these with multitude of security updates in the last couple of years, which normally 4 or 5 years ago you didn't see a lot of security updates on the Apple side. You see them now, and it's not on just the iMacs or MacBooks, but even on the iPads and your phone, a lot of updates, security updates, to just address these issues that could come into the device.
What do you attribute that to as far as, in the Unix world, they limit their access to the users. You don't log in as a super user or root.
Yeah.
So what makes them more vulnerable now?
What makes them more vulnerable is the fact that, let's just take the iPhone and iPad for an example. You can jailbreak them now, right? And when you jailbreak them, you can then download a program called Cydia that allows you to basically install anything you want to on that device, on that iOS device. Once you install anything you want to, then it opens up that system that it wasn't designed to be opened up to the public to do, and you can infect other iOS devices that trust that device on that network. So if you and I we're on the same network on an iOS device, I've jailbroken my phone, put some weird app on there that wants to go out and gather information from all the other iOS devices around. It can do that because you trust my device. I'm an Apple device. I'm an iOS device. And so some of these security updates actually have to physically look for anomalies now that they didn't have to look for a couple years ago because of all the open software that's out there now on Cydia and jailbroken
Like
phones.
intrusion prevention type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. You didn't even hear about it 2-3 years ago. Now you do. And so, yeah, and so do what now?
Flash devices. Like, for instance, you unlock an iPhone to a different company's SIM card.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing too, a student was telling me this last semester, because a lot of students have Droid devices, right? And he was telling me that he's, for the first time, has to have antivirus on their phones at the work. They have Droids anyway at the workplace because of all the viruses hitting the Droid devices, which is ever increasing every month, and it's crazy. And these are with Droid devices that are not, because you can, like in the iOS world, you can jailbreak an iOS device. In the Droid world, it's a little bit more open, but they do have a valid store that people can go to and download pretty clean apps for the most part. But they can also go to these weird source apps stores that can infect their phone. And so, yeah, you're right. And see, it's even increasing in the Droid world as well. And so, Apple also has Droid is definitely an increase in viruses and the need for antivirus apps. Anti-phishing work groups. An example would be Microsoft, okay? And Microsoft Internet Explorer 11 and 10 and 11 specifically, though, has a fairly good anti-phishing algorithm built into the web browser that determines whether or not this website is a fake website. It's a kind of a phished website. And that's what phishing means, basically, is it's a phished fake website. So an example would be, instead of ebay.com, it might be eboy.com, and the user doesn't realize it, and everything else looks the same except, oh, by the way, it's not eBay, it's eboy.com, but now they've asked them to log in. They do log in. Now this eboy.com now has their actual valid eBay username and password, and within 24 hours, they wipe their account out. And financially wipe them out possibly too, if their bank's tied to it, which most part, been years since I've been on eBay, but you have to tie a bank account to it in order to purchase anything. Or you tie a PayPal account to it to purchase anything. Yeah.
Just about a week ago
Yeah.
at my job,
Right?
this lady, the HR lady, she got this email from voicemail to listen to a voicemail.
Okay.
So she did it,
Right.
and then a few minutes later, she emails me like, "Hi, was I not supposed to open this? My computer started acting all weird." So it turns out that it was ransomware.
Okay. Oh,
So
wow. Really?
All her shares, her network shares
Yeah.
that connect to the server,
Right.
everything that she could touch on the server
Right.
Encrypted, huh?
was
Shut down?
was encrypted. It all got a little notepad that said, this is what happened. This is what you can do. This is how we can help you." Like if they're
Yeah.
on your team.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we had to do a whole restore of the server.
Right. Wow.
Well, of the shares that she was able to touch. Good thing she was just a regular user. If it was
Thanks for
like-
sharing that, because a lot of people in IT don't share stuff like that, and I think within the IT world and groups like we're in tonight, it's good to share stuff like that happens, because that could help somebody else that has yet to go through it. You don't want them to go through it, and so I'm glad you shared that, because
if it was a domain admin that would have opened it,
right. Oh yeah.
it would have touched everything. So
the entire network.
the company
Yeah.
could have been down.
Wow.
So that's how serious these things are, and there are things that you just read about that you really feel like you can't happen.
Right.
So
That can happen. You're
it
right.
can happen,
For
you know?
sure. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. Goes over this. Researchers at University of Maryland attached 4 computers to the network with weak passwords, and you'll learn about this term this semester called honeypot. That's what it basically is. It's just an open computer that people that you want hackers to gravitate towards. Anyway, they left it open, weak passwords, for 24 days to see what would happen. These computers were hit by an intrusion attempt on average once every 39 seconds. And then a really cool thing to do to see this in action is if you go home and have an old PC hanging around or whatever that you can connect to your internet, right? there's a number of softwares out there that allows you to see what's coming in. Zone Alarm would be one. Zone Alarm is an application you might have heard of that allows you to, it's a firewall, software firewall, but one of the cool things about Zone Alarm is it lets you see and allow or disallow stuff that comes in as it's coming in. So what's kind of cool to see is from a learning perspective is get a computer, turn off your firewall on that computer, right? Install Zone Alarm, connect it to the internet, and just watch Zone Alarm show you everything that's trying to attempt to come into your network, trying to come into your computer, basically. It's eye-opening. It really is, and it'll actually show you. You know, sometimes it's trying to install an application, sometimes it's trying to take over a browser. You know, whatever. You just do it for 5 minutes, just for 5 minutes to see. You know, all the influx of just fillers that are out there on the internet looking for open whatever to get into. And so it is eye-opening. It definitely is. And Zone Alarm's the name of the app, and there's a free download to do that with. And we'll play around with it this semester a little bit, some more. But security statistics bear witness to continual successive attacks. The company called TJX company reported over 45 million customer credit cards and debit card numbers were stolen in an 18-month period from 2005 2007. It goes on and talks about some of the major security breaches occurred during a 3-month period. The total average cost was $197 per record compromised. And a recent report revealed the federal government has an overall grade when it comes to security of C-. And that's you know, who we pay taxes to, state, federal, local. If you've ever worked in government or you know somebody that has, they don't have the greatest systems, the newest systems out there. And because of that, they're prone for attack sometimes. They might have a machine in a basement somewhere that's not behind a firewall. They might have a laptop in the field that might be running Windows XP, and we all know it's out of date. You know, they're no longer being supported, so security updates are stopped on those. And so there's a number of things that could happen. People leave a laptop in a cafe that has social security numbers on it, credit card numbers on it. The whole slew of things that can happen. In fact, I was at a conference about 3 years ago. It was a McAfee guy talking, and McAfee had got an internal assessment. They hired a firm to come in, do an internal assessment of their network, give it a health grade. They got a C- at the location he worked at. And this is McAfee. So, you know, if McAfee is getting a C-, you can imagine what the normal everyday Joe company, what their network might look like, or what their security updates might look like. Because hackers know most businesses today don't have the newest and greatest updates on their server, much less the clients. And one of the reasons is, if you've worked in IT any period of time, you're not just going to nilly-willy go out there and begin just applying updates, because it can do damage to existing systems. Software can just stop working. You know, it's a nightmare. And so there is a reason why networks, and we'll learn more about this semester, and those of you who work in IT can get feedback during this semester as well, on why we don't apply updates nilly-willy, and why we need virtual machines around our area to where we can test these updates and make sure everything's going to work on our network if we apply these updates. And that takes time to do that. It takes time out of your day. And a lot of IT departments are stressed as it is when it comes to employees and the bodies. They don't have bodies, you know, and if somebody retires, somebody quits, somebody whatever, that person's not replaced. And that's just not in one area, that's across the board. The economy is getting better, but it's still not there. And so IT is one of those areas in a company that generally doesn't generate income. We don't generate income for a company for the most part. Now, you could argue the fact that we do because we stop things from happening, but when it comes to the bottom line of budgeting and things of that nature, IT generally is not looked upon as a generating income place in business. And so because of that, you know, all IT departments, for the most part, I can say this in a general statement, are generally run on skeleton crews. A lot of them are generally run on skeleton crews, so you don't have just an extra person to sit there sometimes and to test all these things you'd love to test and implement all things you'd love to implement, because it takes time, it takes money, it takes resources. And so hackers know that, by the way. They understand that. And a lot of hackers are currently in IT, or they've been in IT, or a disgruntled IT employee. And there's also, you'll learn this semester, you don't even have to have the knowledge base of working in, or having to know anything about, say, creating an attack on a network. The knowledge needed today to create an attack on a network is much less than what it used to be 5 years ago, because there's apps out there that are called script kiddie apps that basically you can download, and it'll do the dirty work for you by just hitting a button, typing an IP address and hitting a button. It'll go out there and do a lot of damage without very little knowledge when it comes to programming or IT. An example I always show students is, we'll say this is year 2000 here, and up here we're in 2014. All right, in 2000, and we'll say up here at the very top is, we'll say up here is 100% knowledge when it comes to technical skills. Down here is going to be 0% knowledge, the technical skills. And when I see technical skills, I mean networking skills, programming to do damage, okay? So in 2000, it's up way high, technical skills to create a hack, to create and hack a network, and to hack a system. We'll say 100% in 2000. Now today, you're looking at very low percentage of knowledge needed to hack a network, a very low skill rate to hack a network, because hackers over the years have created these tools and utilities to put out there in a wide spectrum for folks to download, and they know in the back of their mind, the hackers that want to do damage, yeah, I know how to do this myself. I don't need this tool. But if I create this tool, just imagine the amount of damage that can happen. And I take credit for that. I can take credit for creating this tool that these other thousands of people can download and do a lot of damage with very little. Does that make sense? And they do take credit for it. I mean, there's hacker conventions every year to where they have competitions on defacing websites, taking down networks. And they use these type of tools. These hackers promote these type of tools for other hackers to use, who are just coming in to the hacker world, and then they take credit for these tools that were created, and it becomes a notoriety for them. It becomes they are now the winner of this competition this month or whatever for defacing websites. And so a lot of it has to do with what I just mentioned. It is a competition. Now, granted, there are some corporate espionage that goes on, meaning they hire a hacker to take over another company, possibly behind the scenes, illegally. But most hacking today is just kids and adults both have a lot of time on their hands on the weekends in a basement, downloading these utilities and seeing what damage they can do from high school on. I taught high school for a number of years, and so, when you remember when you were in high school, you had a lot of time, a lot of weekends where you could see what damage can I do this weekend. And then, that's the mode of operandus. And so, it's not changed. The only thing that's changed today is the technology's even faster. The utilities are even more so than what they used to be 5 years ago for folks to download to do a lot of damage that skills are really not needed as it was maybe when you were in high school or when you were first starting out of high school. And so now, because of that, it gives some examples here that I like to show of some of the exposure rates to some of these hacks and some of these, what it did basically. Like an example was the top one here, the Massachusetts Division of Professional Licensure in Boston had Social Security numbers were inadvertently released. The information was erroneously mailed to agencies that submitted a public record request for only names and numbers. Instead of getting names and addresses, they were given Social Security numbers. And it was 450,000 Social Security numbers were given out. Administration Inc. in Houston, current and former employees' personal data may be compromised because of a stolen laptop that contained data that included names, addresses, social security numbers for employees, 159,000. I'll go down further here, the educational one here. Let's go with, Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistant, Baton Rouge. Sensitive data for virtually all Louisiana college applicants and their parents over the past 9 years were lost during a move. The data includes social security numbers for applicants and their parents, and it's unknown what the number is on that. And the list goes on. And, companies by law, when they know that the breach has happened, they're supposed to reveal that breach to their clients that are connected to that company. But you don't always know how long that's been going on or what that time frame is before the information was released. And maybe you've been on the receiving end. I know I have a couple times to where our bank sent us a letter, said, hey, by the way, this third party had an issue, and to be safe, we're going to send you a new card. Okay? And maybe some of you have had that happen to you. And again, you don't know what that issue was, but it happens on a daily basis, breaches. And this screen here is just mind-blowing as far as the speed of attacks. What used to happen, it takes 6 months for something to be created and released for an attack, might take 2 or 3 days now. And sophistication of attacks have increased. Simplicity of attack tools, like I mentioned earlier, you'll learn more about this semester, the script kiddie utilities. Attackers can detect vulnerabilities more quickly and more readily exploit these vulnerabilities before the OS providers have an opportunity to even release a patch. The hackers already are aware of it and are working on exploiting that. Delays in patches and hardware and software products can cause issues. Most attacks are now distributed attacks instead of coming from only one source. It comes from multiple sources, thousands and thousands of different sources, from email to web pages to, MP3s, movies, online games, like through Facebook. And Facebook would be a good example of a lot of these attacks coming through. And then lastly, user confusion. There's so many things that people can't do or shouldn't do. They're just confused. They're just totally confused. Do I open this email? Do I not open this email? Do I reply to this email? Do I not reply to this email? The number one age range of folks getting attacks are the elderly, because they're generally in not very good communication with their family, maybe because their kids are growing, they're busy, can't talk to mom and dad as often. So they're really, really hungry for friends. They're really hungry for communication with somebody. And so if you get an email that says, hey, how you doing? On the subject line, they open it up and they read it and they do exactly what the email says sometimes, even though maybe they've been told by their kids or by, and some of these folks I'm talking about are maybe retired IT folks that are just lonely and they're want somebody to talk to. And because of that, they are preyed upon and sometimes fall victim to these attacks. And, we've heard it here in Rockford, number of elderly folks getting ripped off, their bank accounts being stolen, kids calling up, and this has nothing to do with computers, but kids calling up on a phone and saying, this is Johnny I'm your nephew or your great grandkid from, I'm living in Mexico now and I need some money, or I'm not going to be able to eat tomorrow. I mean, whatever, they can find, it's easy to find out names of families now. And just they call up and actually see what they can get, see what money they can get from them. And so, do what now? Oh yeah, exactly, it does, yeah.
They'll actually call like stores like Target and Walmart and sit there and try to get information as far as what something as simple as an operating system or service.
Yep.
Trying to enumerate information.
Yeah, in Vegas every year they've got it's an ethical hacking conference. One of the things that they do is they have these little fiberglass kind of booths where folks sit in. They have like competitions on seeing how fast they can get into these corporate networks. And then they contact the corporate folks. They don't do anything, but it's just an educational thing. But one of the things they do is what you just mentioned, talking about what you just mentioned, they call up a Walmart. This guy posed himself as a network admin that was supposed to fix something in a Walmart area. So he just called up a store manager and said, hey, my name's Joe. I know it's Friday at 5, but you know, I've got to fix your network. I was supposed to talk to Jim. They find out whoever the other system is, but he wasn't in. Can I get password to your server and a URL to where I can get in to start doing some work? Because if I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. And your boss told me I had to get it done. And an uneasy pause for a second. Yeah, I'm getting ready to walk out, but yeah, here's the URL, here's the username and password. It only took the guy like 5 minutes, and he was in. Huh? Yeah, social engineering, and that's the number one way. And we'll talk about that this semester even more. The number one way that folks get into networks today is still through social engineering. Again, it doesn't take technical skills as much as it is the gift of gab and the gift to feel at ease. And Americans in general want to trust people. We do. I do. I personally do. I like to trust people, and so it's do what now?
Name dropping helps.
Yeah, name dropping helps, and that's what this guy did. He knew key people's names that he could name drop, and because of that, the guy on the other end felt he had to do something. You know, it was a decision that any of us could have made.
On every Walmart receipt, there's the general manager's name, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, it's public knowledge, right? And that's where he got all this information.
Hey,
Yeah.
do you think it's a good idea to have like a little type of teaching class for like employees about network security?
Oh, definitely. And we'll talk tons about that this semester because I think education with your employees and going through scenarios, like I just mentioned, to your employees of what could happen. An example would be a guy coming in a three-piece suit to the front desk lady saying, hey, I'm supposed to meet with CEO Bob here in 10 minutes. I forgot my email. I forgot to send myself a document. Can I get in and get into my email real quick? Uneasiness for a second. Well, yeah, I'm going to go get a coffee. I'll come back in 5 minutes. You can take my machine and do whatever. That happens every day. And maybe they've never been told, you know, regardless who this person is, you don't do that. And because if you think about it, if they've never been trained or said, hey, it's okay and we will stand behind you if you say no to this a person that could come in and do that, they don't know. They could think, this person, if I don't give him access and he's late for a meeting or he doesn't get the document and says, oh, by the way, Sally wouldn't let me in to get this document, I could be fired and I need my job. I just had surgery and I had to pay a $20,000 bill. I can't afford to lose my job, you know. And so it is a moral decision. It is a moral decision, and it's not always you know, something that people are trained at. In fact, a lot of times it's not. They're not trained in that location that somebody could come in and that could happen. So yeah, training employees is important and doing scenarios. But what does that take from employees to do that? What does that take for an employer to do that? What does it actively take for them to do that? I mean, what resources do they need to do this, to do a training? What do you need?
Do training?
Yeah, to do a training, any training, what do you need? What's it going to take? Yeah, exactly.
Somebody knows what they're doing.
Somebody knows what they're doing, whether internally or externally. So it's going to be pay either one. You're going to pay either internally or externally for somebody who knows what they're doing. The time to pull away all the employees for this training, right, away from their productivity, that's going to lose money for the company. And so, you know, I think ideas of training goes through every HR person's mind, and it might even go through meetings. But what it comes down to, bottom line, is dollars. That's what it comes down to. Hey, that's a great idea, Joe, but that's going to cost us $20,000 to do that training, so guess what? We're not doing it. But what we can do is we'll give a link to people in a news release or in a newsletter and let them go there on their own. Well, you know as well I do, most people aren't going to do it. And so unless it's a mandatory thing, a mandatory training, most people won't get the training. And because of that, social engineering happens on a daily basis. And every network, you know, in some form or fashion, whether it be somebody getting a password, whether it be somebody getting access to something they shouldn't get access to, whatever it might be, you could probably mark it all down to somebody wasn't trained properly in that area and feel comfortable saying no, or saying, maybe I should get back to you on this. Let me get with my boss and find out, whatever it might be. They've never been trained on that script to do it. And there is a script you can give them. You get a script you can walk them through. Now this screen talks a lot nicer screen than what I did earlier, of sophistication of skills and attack. This was from 1990 to 2005, but you'll notice the high and low on the left here is sophistication of attack tools, and the bottom is required knowledge of attackers. You'll notice in 1990, very high knowledge of needed, required, but notice in 2005, as time progresses, the required knowledge is less and less. And these names that are dropped here in the progressive slide here are just types of tools or types of packages that are available today. So from password guessing in 1990 to today, having tools that basically in a GUI interface can hack a password in seconds. Any password. All right. Hijacking sessions, which takes over a network, or takes over a session of a user and they don't even know it. They don't even know somebody's watching them. And they're watching their screen, they're watching them type in what they're typing in. Backdoors into networks, backdoors into PCs, backdoors into phones, backdoors into tablets. The tool here, Backtrack, that we'll use this semester, it's the number one tool for that I suggest for network folks to know how to use some of these things in this tool. It's developed by ethical hackers, ethical IT folks that want to create tools, but it's also used on the flip side by hackers as well. And so it's a catch-22, I guess. All these tools that we're going to be using this semester can be used for good or evil. But they have in this Backtrack Linux distro that can be booted up from a USB drive, a DVD, from any computer, analyzing, like a wireless analyzing tool called Kismet that basically can connect to and analyze network traffic on a Wi-Fi network, and then get a number of packets. After they get those number of packets, be able to go in and to crack passwords, getting into SSIDs and the networks. And you can see just from the little screen here, some of the ones that are on here: password attacks, spoofing, which we'll do this semester, how hackers spoof IP addresses, spoof MAC addresses, why they do that, what the purpose is of it, how IT departments can thwart that from happening. Sniffers that'll go out into network and see what activities on, what ports are open, Bluetooth devices, Cisco tools, which almost every network now is ran upon some type of Cisco hardware. There's now tools out there with this type of utility that can browse Cisco switches and to see and maybe download a rule of that Cisco switch to be able to figure out what all the rules are set to where it can be attacked. Forensic tools. So Backtrack is just one of the tools used by ethical hackers. And what I mean by ethical is hackers that are in IT that want to secure their network. And there's ethical white hat hackers, black hat hackers. White hat would be the good hackers that want to figure stuff out to secure the network. Black hat hackers want to figure stuff out to take over a network, to destroy a network, to do whatever, steal social security numbers, to just to do pranks. All right. And I've seen gammas from all different spectrums of reasonings why people do things. It could be they were passed over for a promotion, and they get promotion, so now they know what to do. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do the damage, and maybe somebody will get fired over it. In their hopes, maybe this person that they have a vendetta against will get fired over it. And so on a daily basis, it could be internally, it could be externally, it could be social media or social engineering. But these tools you'll learn this semester are great to have and know how to use. That way, if you don't know your enemy, you can't fight your enemy. And so hackers use these type of tools on a daily basis. And so as IT folks, we need to know what those tools are, how to utilize them, have a safe environment to test these things out and to play with them and to figure out how they work, to where we can then do a flip side and say, okay, how can we secure our network from this happening? How can we do it? And we'll do a lot of penetration testing, meaning, take a network and do a penetration test on it to see just what you can get in, just what you can get away with without any detection. And it's good to have penetration testing all the time on your network to be able to see what can happen, what people can get away with. And that way you'll be able to harden that network for those attacks not to happen. So you've got everything from speed of attacks to greater sophistication of attacks, all the way down to users are confused. They're required to make difficult security decisions with little or no instruction, and that's been mentioned multiple times already. Little or no instruction from their employer, little or no instruction from, they don't know where to go to get help, they don't know where to find help, they feel embarrassed to ask for help, and so you can see why folks have things happen, why they get things that they get. So what is information security? I'm glad you asked. Knowing why information security is important today and who the attackers are is beneficial. And so the face of the attacker, though, has changed dramatically over the years. Gone are the days, I guess, where the attacker was a kid in a basement with a pizza box and a bottle of Mountain Dew and unlimited time, to today attackers are from every walk of life, socioeconomic background. So it's not just one profile anymore. It's not just one profile. These profiles constantly change because people are using technology today from all walks of life. They could be doctors, lawyers, nurses, students, teachers, engineers, police, the whole gamut. And all these folks I just mentioned have been caught in the act of, whether it be social engineering or whether it be attacking in their network internally, whatever the case may be. All these type of folks I just mentioned from these type of backgrounds have fit the bill now for the profile. And so it's hard for IT to just note down, okay, it's just this type of person now. Those days are gone. And Google, because of Google, it doesn't take much to search how to find my boss's password. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that one out, right? Or how to dismantle my IT network. Thousands of tools can be downloaded. Don't have to have any knowledge, right? How to get my boss fired through email. What do I do? You name it, you can type it in, right? And find somebody that's figured it out and done it successfully, and will show you gladly how to do it.
Probably on YouTube too.
Yeah, and probably on YouTube, right, exactly. So, defining information security, it can be considered as a state of freedom from danger or risk. This state or condition of freedom exists because protective measures are established and maintained. But I think in America, and most businesses in America, I can say this fairly confidently, we're kind of, when things are going good and there's no problems, we get kind of lulled into this false sense of security when it comes to network security. We all do. And, just like you mentioned about your story at work, a day before that happened, or even 5 minutes, you probably think that would never happen. That would never happen. Not going to happen to our network anyway. It's not going to happen. But it doesn't take, it just takes one person that clicks the wrong link or does the wrong thing that can cause a whole slew of things to happen. So information security, the task of guarding information that's in digital format. It ensures that protective measures are properly implemented. It cannot completely, though, and I can't stress this enough, everything you learned this semester and everything you already know and everything I know collectively, and everybody knows in IT collectively in the world, cannot 100% prevent attacks from happening. 100%. Can't do it. And so I think that's Also, a falsification maybe in IT is, and when your boss asks you, are we 100% penetrated? You want to be able to tell them, yes, we're 100% impenetrable. We cannot be penetrated in our network. And it'd be great if we could say that, but we can't. You can educate folks, you can secure your hardware, you can do penetration testing, you can do education. But if somebody wants to get in your network bad enough, they're probably going to figure out a way to do it if they have enough time. Have enough time on their hands to wait and to figure it out and to find the vulnerabilities, whether it be for social engineering, whether it be through a weakness in hardware, weakness in ports being open around the building, whatever the case may be. They're going to eventually figure it out. They'll eventually figure out how to do it. And I guess the IT job is, okay, what are all these ways that people can get in? How can they do it? And just talk about it. Start discussing it. Start figuring it out. In your location, how can they do it? Whether it be in home, whether it be in a small business, medium business, large business. It's talking about the elephant in the room. That people already know. People already know what's going on. They know. It could be an example. In the past years, I've taught this class, and being IT myself for a number of years. You guys have stories we could talk about all night. It could be as simple as Joe, the supervisor, giving his administrator password to everybody in his division, because he's too lazy to say sign his time card or something. So he gives a number of people his password to be able to sign the time card, because he want to leave early on Friday night at 5 o'clock instead of staying there till 8 when you're supposed to sign it. He gives it to a number of people, and now something happens, and data's stolen, whatever. You fill in the blank. And so, to proximity cards being given to, I want to leave early. I give you my proximity card. Say, hey, can you clock out for me? I'm going to head out early tonight. I'll do it for you next week. Happens every day. Happens every day. And the person, I gave my proximity card, maybe you do something malicious, and in my area that I'm working at to get me in trouble, and now I come back to work next day, and something happened that I didn't know about, but I left early, so I'm not going to tell them I left early. I lose my job. I worked in this going through school. I was a security guy for a building, and we would film at every elevator activity, right? Like a lot of buildings do. And we had these little power supply boxes up in the corner of the elevator. It looked just like a power plug, but it had these little pinhole cameras in it that would take snapshots every few seconds in all the elevators. Anyway, they had an employee an area was losing like mouses and keyboards and printers and weird stuff like that. And so we watched the footage one Friday after it was reported some stuff was missing. And sure enough, this guy comes out with a box of computer stuff. He had a printer, keyboard, mouse, whatever. I don't remember all the stuff he had. Anyway, we brought him in. His boss knew about it. We told him we found the proof. And the deal was, if he fessed up to it, he was just going to get reprimanded, bring the stuff back, keep his job. That was it. Well, he was asked by his boss, did you do it? He said no. Then he proceeded to show him the film that we had of him doing it, and then was fired, and file was charged against him for stealing. And I saw that happen in the 2 years I was there over 100 times. Little stuff like that. Just little stuff. Little stupid. Maintenance crew stealing out change out of secretary's drawers. Petty cash change, stealing. And this was just physical security that I noticed. Just physical security of stuff happening. Underneath everything, though, when we're talking about IT security with a network, I think, I know from working in it, there's things that go on every day in an IT network that if the public knew, maybe, would be a little afraid, a little scared. Stuff that goes on. Stuff that you see people do, and whatever the case may be. Everything from searching pornography, child pornography, to whatever, to, downloading, movies on pirated websites, and whatever the case may be. A lot of illegal stuff, but a lot of sick, demented stuff too that IT folks will see. And it does take a special person to be able to see that and to deal with that. I mean, what I mean by that is having to confront it, taking the moral stance to confront it. The problem is that in technology today, that's not really promoted much as far as the dark side of IT, the dark side of IT. And the dark side of IT, if you've been in IT, you know what I'm talking about. But newcomers into IT is, I just want to tell you up front that one of the good things I think about IT, many good things, is the fact if you like technology, which I know you do, if you wouldn't be here, but also one step further, use technology for good. And in order to use technology for good, my mode of operandus has always been, because I came from the days of when I used to lock stuff down totally for people that couldn't do anything bad, to where I've come to the belief now to where you want to give people secure network, but you also want to give them freedom to be able to do their work, right? Unfettered, be able to do the work. But at the same time, have safeguards in place to where those who cross the boundaries, whatever, can easily be caught and captured and stop that activity from happening. And so this semester you will not only learn how to secure a network, but you also learn some monitoring tools that will help you to secure a network. Everything from monitoring network activity, internet activity, things of that nature. And there are in most IT departments 1 or 2 people that do monitor this type of activity I'm talking about, the network traffic, IT traffic, IP traffic, and things of that nature. So, but you cannot 100% an attack. And I'm going to end on this slide. Information security is intended to protect information as value to people. Now, what I mean by that is, and the book talks about this, is what's valued to me might not be a value to you at all. Okay? And vice versa. What you value, I might not be able, might be great value to me. But in IT, it's not up to us to judge the value, I guess. To me, it's if it's any information about a person, whatever that information might be, their social, their address, their phone, their documents that they store on the network, whatever it is, that our job is to secure that information to where it stays in a state as if it was in that person's home, unconnected from a network, at the best we can. Be able to, they work in an environment to where they feel safe in that environment, and that's IT's job to make them feel that way. And one of the ways you can make it feel that way is through education, through training, through being honest also and being transparent. Because there's times in IT to where we just mess up or stuff happens, and people are human, and you're going to make mistakes. And it's refreshing from both the user perspective for an IT person to say, we messed up. Or, hey, that update shouldn't have been applied. We apologize for that. But you don't hear that much. But it does, and on my experience, people will get mad, but they're going to get mad either way. So it's what it is at the end of the day for me is, can I sleep at night? Can I sleep at night with what I've done, what I've said, what I've portrayed throughout the day in my day-to-day out business? And so the values from this information, is there information confidentiality, the integrity of information, is it stay stable, what it is now, it's not going to change, that document's going to stay there, it's not going to be stolen, we're going to do everything we can to keep it safe, and is it available when they need it? Now there's going to be some places that you work where they block network activity from a certain time frame. So they only allow network activity to log into a network to do something, say from 8 to 5, 8 to 6. Outside that range, only IT folks can get in to do stuff. And in some organizations, that's needed for security. That's needed. It might be a banking facility. It might be a governmental facility. And you can, in a network, block out folks from logging in from certain time frames. Is it used a lot? No, but those are little things you can use that can actually secure a network fairly well on off hours. And a lot of companies could use that and really save them a lot of money, and also maybe save their data from being stolen during off hours. And so you'll learn a little bit about that too this semester, even though we're not teaching Microsoft networking in here. I'll show you some things I've learned over the years that might help you secure your network better and to harden your network during off hours. And then lastly, information security is achieved through 3 entities. And basically it's in the middle there. The information itself, whatever it might be, that person's data, their company's data, your corporate data, making sure it's confident, confidentiality, integrity, and available. And it's done through communications, which would be like training and education, software and hardware, and that's it. All right? Those 3 entities, software, hardware, and communication. If we can have the best software and hardware, but if we don't communicate and educate, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, right? We are. And we've all been there on the receiving end and on the giving end maybe on not communicating well. And so hopefully this semester you'll learn also some ways to communicate better and to internally and then also externally to those that you're working for in your place of business. So questions about assignments? Okay. I think you had a question about, you might check with Lou or the guy next to you on the getting your course set up.
I just
Did you
checked
figure it out?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
on
cool.
there now for some reason.
It's working out for you?
Yeah, I
Awesome.
checked it
Great.
yesterday.
I want to make sure to do that. Any questions? All right. Well, Monday or Tuesday next week, we'll be covering Chapter 2 content. And so just have it, skim over it if you could between now and Tuesday. And we are done. You guys have a great weekend.